What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka I like his bomber jacket. All right, y'all. So when I was thinking about this week's conversation or topic, I was like, let me talk about something that we have not addressed at all yet. However, at least not directly. However, it touches every single one of us in our businesses on our day-to-day, and that's sales. I got my homeboy, Jonathan Black, with us today. Jonathan, thank you for coming to Eating Chambers channel. I'm so glad you're here, for real.
Man. I'm honored.
Great.
I'm honored you'd ask.
Jonathan is a corporate salesman. He's been in sales for a long time. He's dabbled in entrepreneurship himself. He's a supporter of me. He's a supporter of the show.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, you said you got the job as a marketing job, and then you got presented with the opportunity to do sales.
Yep.
And through that, you just knew this was the lane you wanted to be in. How did you know you wanted to be in sales? And this is, I'm going to elaborate on this, but how did you know? What was it that made you say, yeah, this is for me? Because sales ain't easy. It ain't for everybody.
It's not. And the people that I've talked to over the years who have, come to me and be like, hey, what's it like? I always say, like, it's an incredibly rewarding career, but it's a very, like, stressful career.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of highs and lows.
Okay.
I think for me, to answer your question, Andrew, the thing for me is it goes back to that competitiveness. Sales is almost like competing. So like in most sales jobs, you have a quota. And to me, there's a lot of entrepreneurial similarities to being in a career sales versus an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why you're here.
You're really not. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of the owner of your individual business. And the company that you work for, in my case, the company I work for, gives you a number and says, hey, we expect you to sell this much product, these much services, and figure it out in the next 12 months. They give you training and things of that nature, but like ultimately it's on you.
Yeah.
Like nobody's helping you.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have teams like right now, because I'm in the role I am, I have some resources that help me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like you're accountable to that number.
Right.
Nobody else is.
If you ain't producing, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. Like if you suck, they're going to tell you suck, and it's up to you to fix it. If you're doing great, that only lasts a small bit of time. I think it goes back to the entrepreneurial part of it, but I knew I wanted it because it was a bunch of people in the room that just were ultra competitive. Okay. So we were not only competing against ourselves, but we were competing with each other, and I loved that environment. I love that, like, I'm going to prove you wrong, or I'm going to do this even though it's difficult. Like I loved chasing that. I have to have a goal to work towards. And I think sales is like the ultimate job where it's like you're constantly chasing that carrot. And at the end of the day, like it's up to you to go get it.
I think that's a great nugget. He said he has to have a goal to chase. And I think that sentiment in itself is very important for any entrepreneur out there. It just struck me as you said it. As an entrepreneur, things happen every single day that you may not expect or that aren't convenient, or just being an entrepreneur, just by nature of the lifestyle, a grassroots entrepreneur is just difficult. And so you have to figure out what it is for you. Y'all have heard me say this, I'm just reiterating. You have to figure out what is your why. What is that thing that motivates you, pushes you, drives you, that you're chasing to keep you going through the frustration, the hard time, the slumps, all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that was really, really great.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, you might not know this about me, but there was a time when I was not a chef.
Okay.
And so my main jobs when I was not a chef was in sales.
Okay. I mean, I didn't know that, but that's not but
it's not surprising, right?
Yeah.
So, truth be told, as a chef, you're a salesperson.
Yeah.
Straight up. The delivery is just a little different. The presentation is different, but if people don't like what your food look like, they ain't finna buy it. And it's my job to make sure my food looks good, and my job to make sure people buy said food. So in any case, originally I sold appliances.
Oh.
For my first job out of high school, I was an appliance salesman for 3 years. I worked on base plus commission. My first commission check in that job, JB, I was 19 years old. And 2 months after I graduated from high school, I was base plus commission. So I'm getting these base checks, right? And back then, this is a while ago, I'm happy with my base checks. We would get our commission checks once a month. My first commission check as a 19-year-old kid, I'd already been paid twice this month, and I got this extra check. It was for $1,500.
Woo.
JB.
And what year?
That's
not 2023.
No, that ain't 2023, y'all.
$1,500 then.
This is $1,500 in 2000. So 24 years ago.
Inflation adjusted, that's probably like $5,000.
So imagine being a 19-year-old kid. You done already been paid for the month. I was spoiled, so my mom and daddy was still, sending a little bit of support.
So you were buying.
Yeah, you
were buying the Jordans.
Then you gave me this check, yo. I thought I was rich, yo. I'm saying.
And that's why people go into sales.
And that's why people go into sales. You know, I ended up being good at it, and the checks look right. So after the appliance, so I sold scratch and dent appliances domestically to homeowners, and we also sold a lot. My big business. And I'm extremely money motivated. I can be. Mm-hmm. My big business was a lot of landlords and like
That's smart.
Developers.
That's really smart.
Let me tell y'all something. You know what a commission check looked like on 30 refrigerators? Ooh. It looked good, y'all. But especially 24 years ago when you're 19 years old. Yeah, so after I did that, then I worked for one of the biggest pawn shops in South Florida for a few years. And no, I don't even think it was a few years. I couldn't make it. I think it was about a year, 6 months to a year. And I was really good at that job. But here's what happened why I got out of sales, which is going to segue me into the question for you. At the end of the day, JB, back then, and emotionally, mentally, I was a different individual back then. But one of the things that I saw happening to me real quick, especially in the pawn shop, was integrity issues. I was the pawn shop business exploits people at their weakest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
that's the business plan.
That's the business plan for pawn shops. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was really good at doing that. And you know, one day I was at work. I'll never forget this. Somebody came into the pawn shop, and this dude was selling a piece of jewelry. And I knew when he came to sell this piece of jewelry, I knew whatever happened for this individual to come to this store with this piece of jewelry, there was foul play somewhere. He and the ring, it was a ring, did not line up.
Right.
He wanted to sell the ring. I knew something was fishy, and just being a good guy, I tried to talk him into pawning the ring. He would not do it. He wanted to sell it. And so when he asked for the ring, JB, he asked for probably like $300. When I'm looking at this ring,
you're lying.
I'm like, this ring looks like it cost $30,000. So why is this kid asking for $300? Long story short, he ended up selling the ring. A few weeks later, I see this angry Spanish lady come into the store. And about a minute after her, this dejected young man was coming behind her.
Oh, wow.
Come to find out, he stole the ring. It was a family heirloom. Mama was not willing to press charges on her son, which she could have done and gotten the ring right back. But it was over $10,000. He would have got a felony as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
And so I watched this mama buy back her great-grandmother's ring.
Oh, geez.
For, I think it ended up at the time, it was a few $1,000s, but I watched her buy it back. And I don't know what it was, JB, but in that moment, it messed with my head.
100%.
And
100%.
I never did sales in that capacity again. How do you, because I saw opportunities when I sold appliances too. I see opportunities when I'm selling this food. Mm-hmm. Talk about integrity and how you operate through those, because through those traps, through those moments or situations, because it is my opinion, I believe, that when you're talking about salespeople specifically, we all have heard about the used car salesman guy, the shady.
We'll get there.
The shady sales guy.
We'll get there.
I know you operate in integrity. So I'm doing a lot of talking. You talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think it's first and foremost, I think the most important thing that I can talk about leading into this question is I'm a believer. I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. And honestly, and this is not just a cliche statement for me, everything, all the success that I've had in my life and in my career is completely attributed to God and to Jesus. Like, the older I get, the more I see that I am not nearly as good as I think I am at what I do. So knowing that God can take as quick as he gives is always something that is always in my mind. I always know that I'm one moment away from being humbled and God taking it all away from me. Yeah. And so like my belief and my worldview as a Christian dominates any temptation that I may have to like not act with integrity. The first moments, I never worked at a pawn shop, but you talked about the used car salesman. I actually did for a few months work at a car dealership. Did you? I did, and it was the lowest time of my life. Really? Yeah. So I was at a moment in my life where when I was saying that I did pharmacy and then I did nursing, I had the truth is, and I'm saying this because if one person can be inspired by this, I'm hoping that's the reason why. But I went into school. I was a great student in high school. I had great grades, great SAT score, whatever. I was so lazy academically. When I went into college, I got put on academic probation. I failed so many classes that I had to be put on academic probation, which completely sunk every opportunity that I would have to be in any sort of like medical profession. Okay. I didn't get into pharmacy school. I didn't get into nursing school. And in that point in time, I had just got married, and my wife, Amber, had been basically providing the bulk of our income. And I just was like fed up with it. And I was like, I have done sales. I can do sales. And with that desperation of like wanting to do something more, like got to me. And I was like, I think I could be really good at selling cars. Yeah. Because my arrogance was like, I can sell anything at that time. And so I took a job down at a dealership. I won't say the dealership name because I really don't like them. But I took a job at a dealership down in Morrow, down on Mount Zion.
I remember this. Yeah.
And I was competing with like 20 sales. It's the large. Well, you would be able to figure that out. But it's the largest Dodge Chrysler Jeep dealership in the state of Georgia. Okay. And it was the most miserable I've ever been. And part of the reason why is because the environment was just so flooded. Toxic. With just the worst types of people trying to take advantage of the worst people in society. Like this dealership was right across the street from a buy here, pay here dealership. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's essentially it's the car version of a pawn shop. Yep. And people would constantly be coming in with like 400 credit scores, 500 credit scores. They would be owing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on their car, and they were sold a lemon, and now they had all this debt, and they were just desperate. People would come in crying, like, "Hey, I need a new car. Can you do anything for me?" And there's that temptation to just continue to pull one over on them if they even qualified. Right. And it was just such a toxic environment. The types of people that worked there, they were just full of the worst types of desires that people had. And it was in that moment where I realized, like, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it the right way and the honest way. And so I was very unsuccessful in that role. And I recognized it very quickly, working 60 to 70 hours a week, making like minimum wage essentially. And I got out of there and went back to school, and that's when I became a business major. But that's really where I saw that opportunity and ran from it. Yeah. So
notice JB said, as others have said, as I have said, he attributes all of his everything to believing. We believe in Jesus. We're Christians. But like I've said before, believe in something greater than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have something to lean on to hold you accountable and to also push you and motivate you. That was an awesome story. I didn't know the details of that story. I can imagine a car dealership in Clayton County.
Oh my gosh. I was stupid for even thinking that would be a good idea. Looking back on it, it's just so many red flags that I ignored.
Yeah, I know that's right.
Yeah.
We're not talking trash about Clayton County, y'all. We just saying.
Or car dealerships.
We're just saying.
Yeah.
This is our stories. Okay, so now you work for Microsoft. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do now as far as sales goes?
Yeah, so if you're not, most people are not. Most people think Microsoft, they think of Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
Right.
That's a lot of what I sell, but it's not even close to all of what I sell. And Microsoft is a ginormous company. So what I do inside of Microsoft is I'm what's called an account executive.
Mm-hmm.
And so my responsibility from a sales perspective is I have quota. I have responsibility to sell every cloud product that Microsoft sells to businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's Microsoft Office, but that's also our cloud computing, our cloud computing, which is Microsoft Azure. We compete with basically two other companies, okay. Amazon, AWS, and Google, which is Google Cloud. Google Cloud, GCP. And so I sell that. I do Microsoft Office, and then another product, which is Dynamics 365, which competes with like Salesforce. If you're familiar with what Salesforce does, it helps Salesforces. And then I also have, and then we also sell our hardware, the Microsoft Surface computers that you may be familiar with. So I have a responsibility to sell all those, and I sell them only to medium to large size businesses.
Gotcha.
So my customers are like big corporations.
Yeah.
Specifically right now, manufacturing companies.
Yeah.
So companies that manufacture goods and products.
Yeah. Cool. Say guarantee the bag, y'all. Guarantee the bag. Anyway, I ain't gonna stay on that too much. So this is what I want to ask you about. You said you have a team of people that help you now.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit. I'm gonna go back to the sales a little bit, but in managing people, resources.
That's like the biggest part of my job.
Talk to us about any of your insights. Specifically, I'm a firm believer in delegation. A lot of people, you hear that attitude that says, a good manager or a good boss is the one who gets down and gets dirty with you. I believe that's somewhat. But I also believe there's a need for chiefs. You know what I'm saying? There's a need for somebody to be a visionary or a voice. And there's a need for people to follow said person. I have no problem getting busy in the kitchen, but I also am really good at utilizing people at their strengths and identifying said strengths and figure out how to best use them to help me or help my business or what have you. What has been your experience with dealing with people and dealing with delegating?
Yeah, so you hit on it, which is identifying strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I think having kids also helps you recognize a truth in life. And you can attest to this.
Yes.
Not every human being is created the same way. And what helped me figure that, what really cemented that was having kids. And I think a mistake that people make when they work with people is they either assume that everyone is like them
mm-hmm.
and thinks like them and works like them.
I was guilty of that for a very long time.
Or they've had some success and they incorrectly and inaccurately think that however they got that success is the only reason why they got there. And
mm-hmm.
however they rinse and repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that when you are dependent, and I would say that I am, like I said before, I'm responsible for my number. I'm responsible for hitting my number. But I do not achieve that number unless I'm collaborating with people.
Right.
And my success is dependent on being able to understand the people that I work with.
Okay, let me ask you.
Blank, period.
Period. Let me ask you this. For you, for your numbers, whatever your markers are, the way your job does it, do you know the goals or does your team know the goals as well?
So this is what makes it my specific, not every sales role is the same, although in big tech, a lot of it's the same, but outside of that, it's different. But for me, what makes this tricky is I have my number, but my team of specialists have their own separate number. And they only care about their
number.
So my job, I think you know where I'm heading, is to get them to be compelled enough to help me so it can benefit them as well.
Yeah.
Nobody in corporate IT, big tech, who makes that type of money is interested in charity work.
Right. Right.
So the big challenge for me constantly is, how do I get this person who helps me, is on my team, into where I need their help to also be compelled to help me so that they can also benefit and win. That's a huge part of it. In going back to identifying strengths and weaknesses is recognizing that not every person works the same way.
Yeah.
And you have to learn. A big part of why I think that if I'm being honest, am successful is I'm able to understand. I try to understand what fuels people.
Yeah.
How they like working. Why, how they communicate. Because once you figure that out, then if they're good at what they do, then y'all can work together and accomplish so many different things. But if you're just the same way to every single person, it's going to work with some people, it's going to push some people away, and you're going to be white noise to the other third of people.
I tell people that life is ever changing and people are ever changing. So if you think you could take one thing and apply it across the board, that's just bad math, period, across the board. JB?
Hey, Pink's Barbecue and Chef Drew to the moon, baby. I believe in this guy. I was real quick. You can cut this out if you want. I don't care. But I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use this 30 seconds to say, Drew is the real deal. If you've been watching these videos and watching his channel, he's not just a guy who's out here trying to create content or create, some sort of channel for an extra side revenue, income of revenue. I'm sure, although that would be nice.
Yeah.
This guy is a man with conviction, and he talks from a place in which he knows, and listen to what he's got to say. And I think we'll be able to look back on these videos, the Eating Chambers channel and all these videos and years from now, and we'll say, dang, that was just the very beginning, the very floor of what's to come. So.
Hey man, I don't know if you know this, but my dad was an entrepreneur my whole life. When he passed away, he owned a chemical consulting company, JB. He did consulting for art manufacturers for years and years and years. When he passed away, his business just went. All the knowledge, all the experience, all the years and years and years and brilliance left with him. And if y'all don't know this, one of the reasons we created the Eating Chambers channel is because one day we all go on.
Yep.
And I want to make sure, not just for my children, but for people, if I could help one person, like JB said earlier, that whatever it is the Lord has put in me, I can leave it so that people can be blessed by it now and evermore. Hopefully my kids can go back and look at it. So I really, really appreciate all of that. That is my heart. I just want to help. So guys, you met my homie JB.
Hey, enjoyed it.
Thanks so much. We're going to do this again. We're always here for you guys. We want to educate you. We want to excite you, and we want to empower you into your future, into the business and the life that you want. Please, please, please remember, until next time, like, subscribe, do all the things. And until then, we are out of here.